Priya Eitz, correct? So he said a bracha on the aleph. He said a bracha achrona. And we said, in order to go ahead and say a bracha achrona, you have to eat a certain amount. You have to eat a kazayit, the size of an aleph, right? If you're going to go ahead and have an apple, how much apple do you need to eat in order to say a bracha achrona on the apple? And after bracha on the apple, you have to have the size of a kazayit, an olive size. If you have a little bit of the apple, you have to say a bracha on any amount. You say a bracha rishona on any amount. Any amount you want to eat, you want to have a little bit, you say a bracha. But to say the bracha achrona, you have to have a certain amount, which we call the kazayit. For a salad, we said you need a kazayit, which is an ounce, we said. And for a liquid, we said we go with the 3 ounces. That's what we concluded. In the drink a reviyah to say a bracha achrona on liquid. That's what we said last night. We encouraged everyone when you said havdalah last night, you should drink 3 ounces of the havdalah. So therefore, if you drink 3 ounces, and then you drink enough that you could say the bracha achrona bala gefen. But that's what we, and of course, if you drink less than 3 ounces, you would not be able to recite the bracha achrona of ala gefen. Is that clear? Everybody got that clear? Avram, is that clear? Okay, very good. Now the Gemara says, Avram, you able to hear me clearly? Can I hear you? The question is, can I hear you?
I could hear you clearly.
Yeah, and I can hear you also. Okay, very good. So now the Gemara has a question. Rabbi Yochanan ate 1 olive. It was 1 salty olive that he ate. And he said a bracha achrona, because the Gemara said he said a bracha mitchila before he ate it, and he said a bracha after he ate it. So the Gemara says, but an olive has a pit. There's a pit inside the olive. Since there's a pit inside the olive, so you remove the pit, you don't have the whole, you need an olive size. You need the size of an olive. The olive itself wasn't a full olive because of the pit. And in order for you to say the bracha achrona, you have to eat the food. The pit is not the food. So the Gemara says, how did he say a bracha achrona when he ate a olive? Since the pit was removed, he didn't eat the size of the kazayit of an olive. Is that clear, everybody? Is the Gemara's question clear? Victor, is the Gemara's question clear?
Yes.
Okay. Mike, you hear it? Yosef, you hear it? That's the Gemara's question. So the Gemara, that's the Gemara. The says, Kivan the Shekilna Lagrine, since you took the pit, now on Lamitet on an olive, 39a, Batzale Shura, you're missing the shear. You don't have the size of an olive. Now, Mike, I think you once asked, in general, what's the size of an olive? When we say kazayit, which olive? What size of an olive? So that's what the Gemara is going to talk about today to address the issue I think you once brought up. So, Amalei. So Rav Zera responds to Rav Yirmiyah's question. He says, Mi savrit kazayit gadal be'inan. Do you think the olive, that there are all different sizes of olives? The size of an olive that we say to say a bracha achrona is not referring to the olive, the large olive. Excuse me, if it's referring to the large olive, so therefore, and the pit was removed, so he didn't have a full size of a kazayit. Rather, the Gemara says, kazayit bein in the be'inan. The size of an average, if you take a survey of olives, the different sizes of olives, the average olive, the medium size, we're talking about the kazayit of the medium sized olives. There's the large olives, small olives, medium sized olives. The kazayit is the size of the medium sized olives. So the Gemara says, and vahu the aitula kamed Rabbi Yochanan, the olive that they brought in front of Rabbi Yochanan, zayit godal have. It was the big olive. Since it was the big olive, then when you remove the pit of the big olive, then what was left equals or is more than the average size olive. And therefore, it met the requirement, the size, that you could say the bracha achrona after you eat the olive. Who died to the kamei Rabbi Yochanan zayit gadal have? The afagav the shaklu laganite, even though you remove the pit, Pashle shura. You still have left the size of a middle-sized olive, and therefore it's obligated in a bracha achona. Therefore, it's obligated in ala eitz. Like we said last time, the only time you say the bracha achona ala eitz val eretz val peiros ala eitz val peiros only from the shivat haminim. You have an apple, an orange. Those who say a borin nefashot. Ditnan, and he proves his point. We have a mishnah. The Mishnah Meseches Kelim says, Zayid she'amru. When the Torah says achila, you have to eat a kazayit. You have to eat a kazayit of matzah on Pesach. Or the Torah says you're not allowed to eat. You're not allowed to eat the animals that are not kosher. At what point, how much is the eating that the Torah is referring to that you have to eat for Pesach in order to fill your mitzvah? And what's the eating that a person has to eat in order to get malkut, to get lashes? If he was warned and it's in front of witnesses, he has to eat. It's the size of a kazayit. And the Mishnah says kazayit shamru lo katan velo gadal, not one small olive and not the size of one large olive. Rather elav beinani. The beinani, the middle size. By the way, also when you discuss eggs, you have to eat an egg, the size of an egg of bread in order to go ahead and have to wash the tilat yadayim with a bracha. Remember we spoke about, if you wash tilat yadayim, you're obligated to wash the tilat yadayim if you're only eating one slice of bread. But maybe you shouldn't say, you might not need to say, you don't say the bracha al tilat yadayim if you only have one slice of bread. If you have a size of a pizza of 2 ounces of bread, then you go ahead and you say a bracha until yadayim. So what kind of egg also? There's all different size eggs. So here we're talking about what's the size of the kazayit. And what elav beinani zehu agurei. The name of this olive, if you want to know the name of it, it's called the aguri olive. And v'amar Abavo says, really, that's not the real name. The real name is Ela Avruti Shmo. The real name for this olive is Avruti, and some say that that's the name of the place that they grow these olives. Like, you hear when it comes to oranges, Florida oranges, right? Florida oranges, you call it Florida, based on the county and the place that they grow. So some say it's called Avrute, some say it's called V'amrile Samrusi Shmo. Some say the name, they refer to them as Samrusi. That's really the real name. But now, meaning, V'lama Nikr Shemo Agurei. Why they give it the name Aguri? The Gemara says, Sheshamno Ogul B'tocho. Because these olives, the oil that's contained in the olives is gathered and collected in it in a way that it's ready to roll. Like you squeeze it a little bit, it comes out. Like you took an apple, to get the juice out of an apple, you have to go ahead and really squeeze it a certain amount to get the juice. However, this type of olive, it's a very wet, juicy olive that that the juice in it is just ready to come out of, and that's why it's called aguri. It's gathered, referring to the juice that's gathered inside these olives. Now the Gemara gets back to the discussion that we had earlier. We had a discussion about cooked vegetables. What's the status of cooked vegetables? If you cook vegetables very well, is the bracha borer pri adama, or is the bracha shachatu? That was the discussion that we had earlier.
Rabbi,
we had an opinion that says, we had one opinion in the Gemara that says it all depends. If the vegetable is normally eaten in its raw state, and by cooking it, it goes down, and the product gets worse. So therefore, one opinion says then when you cook it, you would say a shakol. If the vegetable is not normally eaten in its raw state, then when you cook it, it makes it into its proper state, then it's adama. Tosfos says if you have a vegetable that it's just as good raw and cooked, so then you go ahead and the bracha will be the same one cooked, it will be hadama. Tosfos gives an example even by wine. Cooked wine and not cooked wine. There's not a major difference in cooked wine and not cooked wine. We do say that regarding if the Gentile handles the wine, if it's cooked with kosher wine that was cooked and the Gentile handle, we said it does not ruin the wine. But regarding the bracha, Tosfos says it's not a significant difference, and therefore you would say the bracha bar gefen on the wine, whether it's cooked or whether it's not cooked. So we said there's three categories, but then we said there's another opinion. There's another opinion that the cooking takes it away from its status. And therefore, even if it would be a good vegetable, hadama, or anything, it would come out according to that opinion. Even if you have wine, if you cooked it, it would turn to a shakol. There's one opinion. If you have that the cooking changes the item, and it's no longer the original item, and therefore the bracha has changed. Therefore, we had an opinion that says that it will be a shahakol on all vegetables that would be cooked. That was the opinion, one opinion in the Gemara. Now the Gemara wants to say nema. We know that's not the halacha, but nema ketanoi. The Gemara wants to know: do we have a machloket tanoim on this matter? Now the hanu trei talmidei the haveyasi kamei the Rabba Kapora. There were two students that were sitting in front of Rabbi Bar Kapara. Heviu lefanav kruv the durmoskin pargios. Bar Kapara brought some sort of, let's say, cabbage that was very well cooked, a vegetable that was very cooked. Durmaskin is also a type of herb that was very well cooked. So we have some vegetables, cooked vegetables. Upargiot is, let's say, some sort of type of chicken. So we have chicken and we have vegetables. I don't know if that's what's for dinner tonight. I don't know what's for dinner tonight, everybody. But I say I got a smile out of Avram on that one. So there was chicken and vegetables. That was what they served at the meal. And Nosan bar kapara rishut le'echad mehem levarech. Bar kapara gave permission to one of the students to say the bracha on this food, and he will be motzi the other people by his bracha. Let's say we'll see whether the bracha is hadama or whether bracha shakol. We have some vegetables here, so it might be dealing with hadama. We have some chicken with a bracha shakol, and he wanted him to say the bracha to be motzi the other people with his bracha. Now we find when you're sitting down, say the same way, if you're sitting down together to a meal, we say one person could say hamotzi and be motzi and cover everybody else also with the bracha when you say hamotzi. You know, you could not only say it for yourself, you could say it for other people. So too over here regarding this situation, regarding the bracha on the chicken or on the vegetables, they were sitting down, they came together to sit down, they were sitting together. So therefore he feels it's called that one has the ability to go ahead and say the bracha for the other person. What I'm trying to say, there is a discussion, you know, there's some point out a difference between bracha rishona and bracha achrona, that when you're coming together to eat, there's more room to say that one person could say the bracha for the other person. We're coming together to eat, so we're all together, and therefore I can make one bracha for all of you. But when it comes to bracha achrona, when we finish the meal already, so now it's not so simple that I can make a borei nefashot for you, and therefore we definitely recommend that if I'm sitting with you, each person should say their own borei nefashot.
Rabbi,
Each person should say their own ala michya. We don't.
can you hear me, Rabbi?
We don't say that we don't. We rather people only in a circumstance. But
Rabbi, can you hear it, Mike? Mike is calling you.
Mike is calling me.
Mike,
I guess he cannot hear me.
And now I hear you, Mike.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, Rabbi, but I just wanted to ask if it's because I thought it was the opposite, that on bracha acharona somebody can thank for you and motzi you, how do you say, like exempt you from saying the bracha acharona, right? But not the first one. Is that the opposite?
I'm saying that there is I'm saying I'm saying that when you're sitting down to a meal, right? We're all coming together to sit together. So I think if you're sitting together and you're eating together, there's more room to be motzi the other guy, just as we're going to see illustrated here in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to illustrate the story that they were sitting together, and one of them was going to say the bracha rishona for everybody else. But the bracha achrona, what I recall, and I'm gonna dig it up. I'll try to do my homework today, and we'll come back tomorrow. But bracha achrona, this is a Tosfos says this svara somewhere in the Masechta. The bracha achrona, we're separating from each other. Because we're separating from each other, we're not as connected, and therefore, the logic would be preferably I should not say the bracha for you. But let's see if we can find it. Let's see if we can find it over here, or else we'll just have to look it up later, and then tomorrow. Here's the Shulchan Aruch. You ready, everybody? Mike, I got the Shulchan Aruch. You got it? You ready? You hear me? It's like this. On payros, on fruits and other foods, if there were two or more people eating, he says one could say the bracha for the other person, but you have to be sitting together. You have to be sitting. He says, and the Shulchan Aruch says, and he says that's by bracha rishona, but bracha achrona, everyone has to say the bracha himself. The Shulchan Aruch makes.
I don't know if Mike was
Rishona.
answered you that he could hear you.
What'd you say?
No, you asked before if Mike hears you. I heard you. I don't know if Mike was hearing you when you asked him.
I don't know
Yes,
why
yes. Thank you.
Oh.
I hear you
Okay,
very well, Rabbi.
okay.
I hear you well.
Okay.
So if we'll
Thank
take
you.
a look at the Yalkut Yosef in Siman Reish Yud Gimel, it says like this. He says the person who's saying a bracha could, if you could say a bracha you could say the bracha rishona, the bracha beforehand for somebody else if you're eating and drinking together. Now, he says, but bracha achrona on fruit, borin nefashot or ala eitz, l'chatchila, everyone should say the bracha themselves. And we do not say shomea ka'oneh. But, right, and he says that if the person who's listening does not know, if a person does not know how to say the bracha by himself, say the bracha with him word by word. You see, Mike, he's definitely making this, and I'm telling you the logic. You're listening to the logic behind it, Mike? When you're coming together, I could say a bracha for you if we're coming and we're sitting together, then we're all joined. We're coming to eat together. We're coming to drink together. That joins us. And because that joins us, I could say the bracha for you. We could sit down, and I could say, technically, I could say a bar dama for you at the corner. Now, even though we will not encourage that, we would say everyone, but it would seem from here that if you come in to sit with the other guy, I could technically say the shahakol for you, the adama for you, the eitz for you. We're all eating at the table together. But when it comes to bracha achrona, he says, so that's the distinction that he makes. Now,
Rabbi.
what is the Ashkenazic opinion on the matter? That's the, he says that the Shulchan Aruch says, he says, now let's see what he says. The Shulchan Aruch says, the Ramah says, our custom is that each person makes the bracha rishonah for themselves. So that's the, what I would say, and the Mishnah Berurah, the Chafetz Chaim says the following. He says, if one guy does not know how to say the bracha himself, then he could be yotzei with the bracha. The other person can have him in mind. And he says today, people, he says this in Siman Reshid Gimel, he says the people are very lax and don't show respect for the bracha achrona. And therefore you could rely on this lechatchila, that one person could go b'kol ram, could go out loud and say the bracha achrona and have in mind everybody else, even when the other people know how to say the bracha themselves. Because really, if the other people know how to say the bracha themselves, you should not be saying the bracha achrona for them, Mike. But if they're not going to do it, right? There's a lot of people that know how to do things, but they don't do it. So therefore, it's recommended, like in a shul. In my shul, sometimes one guy gets up after the kiddush and he says the bracha achrona, and people listen. Really, everybody should say their own bracha achrona. But the fact is, there are people that are not doing it for some reason. They don't realize the importance. And therefore, in that situation, it's better let one guy go ahead and say the bracha achrona for everybody in that situation. And especially the ala michya, the ala eitz, that many people don't know how to say it. But it's definitely better that each person in the crowd should say word for word with the person who's leading the bracha achrona. It's always ideal that he should not rely on the other guy's bracha achrona. Mike, you hear that clearly or not?
Yes, Rabbi, it's clear.
It's clear. But the way to remember the logic is because when you bracha achrona, you're separating, you're not as connected. So therefore, there's more of an issue by the bracha achrona for someone to be mostly the other guy.
Rabbi, I was thinking that maybe the chashivut of the bracha acharona is more chashuv than the first one, like we said in the beginning. That the bracha acharona is more chashuv.
No, the reason is the Tosfos says the logic is that for me to cover you with a bracha, we need to be coming together. Like on Shabbat, you come together for a meal, right? So you say the Hamotzi for the other guy, you say the Bar Pei Geffen for the other guy. You're coming together as a group. We're united. So when you're coming to eat a meal, you're united. So therefore, it's more. You could allow one person to say the bracha for the other guy because we're all connected. We're all coming together. We're eating together. But when we're saying bracha achrona, we're not coming together. We're separating from each other. And therefore, really, one person should not say the bracha achrona for the other guy. Because of that. Because you're not connecting with each other. You're separating from each other. But because of concern that people will not say the bracha at all, then we allow someone to say the bracha achrona for the other guy. You understand, Mike? The allowance that we allow is only because the people are not on top of their game. Victor, you hear that? Is that clear?
Yeah, I hear Rabbi.
Mike, you understand the allowance that the Chafetz Chaim says is only because people are not doing it, what they need to do. Therefore, we'll allow you to go ahead and say a bracha achrona for them. But even in that circumstance, you should best is that they should say the bracha themselves or say it along with you. Is that clear?
Yes.
And that's what the Gemara is saying over here. So now, the Gemara, and here, our Gemara was talking about Bracha Rishonah. So Bracha Rishonah, we said it's not an issue. It's not an issue, at least for the Sfardim, it doesn't seem to be an issue. Regarding Bracha Rishonah, if you're coming to eat together with the other person, then you could go ahead and say the Bracha Rishonah for the other guy. Hadamah, other things, the eight, if you're sitting together. Okay, now let's continue in the Gemara. So the Gemara says that the rabbi gave those students, they were the students that were in front of him, and they brought in front of them these vegetables, these cooked vegetables, and they brought in front of them the chicken. Nosan bakapar reshut le'echad mehem levarech. And he gave permission for one of them to go ahead and say the bracha. And he will say the bracha and he'll cover the other person. Kafatz ubereich ala pargiyot. He went ahead and he hurried up. He didn't ask the rabbi, which one should I say the bracha on? Should I say it on the vegetables or should I say it on the chicken? I plan on eating both. You plan on eating both, you have two brachot to make. So he didn't ask Rabbi, which one should I say first? He went ahead and he hurried up and he made the bracha on the chicken. He made a shahako. And like liglig alav chavero. And his friend was laughing at him. He was upset with him that he did such a thing. Now, really, you're not supposed to be laughing at someone else makes a mistake, but that's what it sounds like. Liglig alav chavero. Caused by kapara. The rabbi got upset. V'omar. And he says, Lo ala mevarech ani koes. I'm not angry with the person who said the bracha. Ela ala melagleg ani koes. I'm upset with the person who was laughing, the other student that was laughing. Because meaning you're laughing, you think that he made a mistake. You think that he should not have said the bracha shakol on the chicken. Your friend looks like he never ate meat before. Chicken is like from the meat family. Even though I think we say on Shavuot, better have meat than chicken. It's more honorable meat than chicken. The Kavod Yom Tov have meat over chicken. But it's also chicken, we all know, it's part of the meat family in a certain sense. So your friend he enjoys chicken. He's so happy to have chicken. Most probably in his own home, maybe he didn't have chicken because they were sitting in front of Bakapara. Bakapara was the host. So he says, Ata ma liglalta alav. Why did you laugh on him? He wanted to say the bracha on the food that he likes the best. If you have vegetables and you have shakol, he wanted to say the bracha on the shakol. Now, as we know, if you have hadamah and shakol, what's the bracha? If you have hadamah and shakol, you'd say the bracha on the hadamah first, because the shakol is more broad. You would say the hadamah, and he said. And he said, "V'amar." So therefore, that he had a right to say the bracha on the chicken. Now the Gemara is thinking that Bakapara held at this point that they all the same bracha, the chicken and the cooked vegetables. The cooked vegetables are, the Gemara is thinking, lost its status of the vegetable and now went down to a shakol. So why are you laughing at him? He has a right to say the bracha on what he likes the best. And then Chazda v'Amar. And then Bakapara says, you know what? Really, I'm not upset with the guy who laughed at him. He said, you know, the Mavarech, the one who said the bracha, did something wrong. Because he should have asked me what the proper bracha is. And because he's making a mistake. Because he should have said really the bracha on the vegetables, not on the chicken. V'oma Bakapora says, Im chachma in kan. If he thinks that I'm not a wise man, if he thinks I'm not a big rabbi, and therefore he didn't ask me because he says I'm not a big rabbi, but I have experience. I'm an older man. Zikna in kan. Isn't there? I'm an elderly person here. I'm a man of experience. And he should have asked me what the proper bracha is to say on the food. And he didn't ask me the proper bracha. And the Gemara says, Tana, we learned in a Braita, Ushnehem lo etziu shinatam. Both students passed away that year. A very harsh punishment for the students. And the question is, why were, some say because the fact that the guy laughed in front of Makapara and he did not have the proper respect, therefore maybe he was punished. It could be he was punished because he laughed at the other guy. Maybe Hashem was very upset, like we find by the Talmidim Rabbi Akiva. That's my own thought. That Talmid Rabbi Akiva shall nahagu kavod zeh lezeh. They didn't give respect to each other. So what happened was that Hashem sometimes is very strict. And also the person who said the bracha without asking the rabbi, and he's giving a saying a law in front of the rabbi, also it's not respectful. And sometimes Hashem punishes certain punishments, very strong punishments, when people don't act with proper respect. And they mora halacha, teaching halacha in front of the rabbi. So the Gemara says, my love, probably, Bahal Kamiflagi, one of the two students, these are two students, these are learned people. One said shahakol, and the other one said, you're making a mistake. You should not have made a bracha on the chicken. The Mavorich Sava, most probably the one who said the bracha holds, Shaloko, Upragrios, they're both all as a shahakol. He held that the chicken and the vegetables, the cooked vegetables, are shakol. That's why he said the bracha on the chicken, because he felt that the cooked vegetables lost its status and therefore it's a shakol. Hilkach chaviv adif. In that situation, if you have two foods with the same bracha, so you go after the one food that you like the best. Which one you like better? You bake the bracha on the one you like better. But the melagleg sava, the one who was the other student, that was critical of the student who said the bracha, he had shlokot bar priyadama. He's of the opinion that shlokos, you say a bar priyadama. The bracha on cooked vegetables is a bar priyadama. And therefore you're not supposed to say the bracha on the shahakol, on the chicken. Even if you like the chicken better, you're supposed to make a bar priyadama. He holds shlokot bar priyadama, upagiyot shahakol ni'ebed varo, Hilkach Peira Adif. You should say the bracha on the Peira, on the Hadamah. Now Tosfos points out, if you have, we'll just end this piece of Gemara first. The Gemara says low, no proof. The Kuli Alma, maybe everybody holds Shlokot, Pagiyot, Shakol Nebevaro. Maybe everybody holds the Shlokot and Pagiyot, you make a Shakol. And therefore, maybe there's no proof that there's someone who says you say a bar dama on cooked vegetables. They're arguing on the following. Masava, one holds chaviv adif. If you have two foods that has the same bracha, you go after the one that you like better. And that shows more honor for the food. You say the bracha on the food that you like better. Masava, and the other one holds The kruv is odas. You should have made the bracha on that on the cabbage, because sava. Why mishum the zayin? Because that fills up the person. Since this food fills up the person and nourishes the person, and therefore you should have, it's more honorable to make the bracha on the food that fills up the person. So here we have a discussion in the Gemara, which thing is which Maila, which positive thing wins? Is it the fact that something you like more? That should be the cause to say the bracha on that first? Or is it that should be if you're making a bracha and you're eating both foods? I mean, this whole discussion is when you plan on eating both, if you're not plan both foods, you don't have to make a bracha on the food that you don't want to eat. So when you plan on eating both foods, which one should you say the bracha on? So one opinion says the one that you like better. And the other opinion says they say the bracha that the food that nourishes more. That's what the machloket is according to this Gemara. Now the question is, what about if you have chaviv, you have something you like better, but let's say you have apples, oranges, you like an apple like an orange better than grapes. But grapes is from Yeshivat Haminim, from the 7 species of the land of Israel. Yosef Tzaddik, you with me? So you 7 species of the land of Israel. So does the Shivat Haminim take precedence? So if you look at the Tosfot, Chaviv Adif, Tosfot says, L'chein halacha. If you have 2 types of fruits in front of you, the Chaviv is Adif. The one that you like more, that's the one you should say the bracha. Ubore priyadama, but that's what, so far. If you have 2 fruits in front of you, and let's say meanwhile we'll learn the Tosfot of the same bracha. You say the bracha on the food that you like better. If you have bur priyadama, if you have a bur priyadama and a shakol, a bur priyadama is better. You go with the bur priyadama, muveres tfei v'chashuv la'atzmo mikris. It's more. It's a more important bracha. I mean, it's more specific. And what do we say? You say the bracha on the hadama, even though the shahakol you like better. You still say the bracha. You're having a chocolate, which is a shahakol, and you're having with the chocolate. You're having a hadama with the chocolate. You say the bracha on the hadama first, even if you like the chocolate better. Or even if you're having your ice cream and you're having something else, you make the bracha on the hadama first. If you have in front of you fruits that are the same bracha, one is from the Zion and one is Zion Minim, he says you make the bracha on the one from the Zion Minim of Eretz Yisrael. So here it seems like he's saying that the Zion Minim is greater, it's more important from the Shivat HaMinim than what you like better. If they're all ha'etz, you should give the kavod to the Shivat HaMinim. And we're gonna see tomorrow, maybe we'll see more about what about if you have a dama and a bor priya eitz and all that. We'll see more about that. So far from Tosfot, we see clearly if everything is bor priya eitz, you should go after the Shivat HaMinim. Even if the Shivat HaMinim you don't like as good as the other food. But you plan on eating both eitz, you go with the Shivat HaMinim first. If you have shakol and hadama, you go after the hadama. So for sure, if you have an eitz and shakol, you go after the eitz. And we'll see tomorrow more about the hadama and the ha'etz. Okay, which one?
Thank you, Rabbi.
If you like them both the same, the bor pri eitz, because the bor pri eitz is more specific than the hadama. But we're going to see about if the hadama you like better than the eitz. We'll see more about that tomorrow. Yes. What did you say, Avram? Have a good day, Avram.
Nothing. Disregard. You too. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Thank you, you too.
You too. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.